I am continuing in my reading. What I'm doing in this series is to read through the entire standard works of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. This consists of the Bible, the Book of Mormon, the Doctrine and Covenants, and the Pearl of Great Price. I am continuing reading in a chronological order, according to event, not according to publication or volume, so I'm skipping around a bit as I move along. So we are still in Alma, getting near the end of the wars. We've read Moroni's letter to Pahoran, speaking in anger about the neglect that the government has had for the army, and Pahoran's response, welcoming Moroni's assistance and telling him about the insurrection of the kingmen. Now we turn to chapter 62. It's a bit of a long chapter, and we're going to split it into three. So this first one is going to be the first 11 verses, and this is going to be after Moroni gets the letter from Pahoran. Moroni marches to the aid of Pahoran in the land of Gideon. The kingmen who refuse to defend their country are put to death. Pahoran and Moroni retake Nephihah. Many Lamanites join the people of Ammon. Teancum slays Ammoron and is in turn slain. The Lamanites are driven from the land and peace is established. Helaman returns to the ministry and builds up the church. And now it came to pass that when Moroni had received this epistle, his heart did take courage, and was filled with exceedingly great joy because of the faithfulness of Pahoran, that he was not also a traitor to the freedom and cause of his country. But he did also mourn exceedingly because of the iniquity of those who had driven Pahoran from the judgment seat, yea, in fine, because of those who had rebelled against their country and also their God. And it came to pass that Moroni took a small number of men, according to the desire of Pahoran, and gave Lehi and Teancum command over the remainder of his army, and took his march towards the land of Gideon. And he did raise the standard of liberty in whatsoever place he did enter, and gained whatsoever force he could in all his march towards the land of Gideon. And it came to pass that thousands did flock unto his standard, and did take up their swords in the defense of their freedom, that they might not come into bondage. And thus, when Moroni had gathered together whatsoever men he could in all his march, he came to the land of Gideon, and uniting his forces with those of Pahoran, they became exceedingly strong, even stronger than the men of Pachus, who was the king of those dissenters, who had driven the freemen out of the land of Zarahemla, and had taken possession of the land. And it came to pass that Moroni and Pahoran went down with their armies into the land of Zarahemla, and went forth against the city, and did meet the men of Pachus, insomuch that they did come to battle. And behold, Pachus was slain, and his men were taken prisoners, and Pahoran was restored to his judgment seat. And the men of Pachus received their trial according to the law, and also those kingmen who had been taken and cast into prison, and they were executed according to the law. Yea, those men of Pachus and those kingmen, whosoever would not take up arms in the defense of their country, but would fight against it, were put to death. And thus it became expedient that this law should be strictly observed for the safety of their country. Yea, and whosoever was found denying their freedom was speedily executed according to the law. And thus ended the 30th year of the reign of the judges over the people of Nephi. Moroni and Pahoran, having restored peace to the land of Zarahemla among their own people, having inflicted death upon all those who were not true to the cause of freedom. If you will recall, 5 years earlier, approximately, I think it was the 26th year of the reign of the judges, is when they put down the first kingmen. And it says that those who would not take the oath to defend their freedom were put in prison because they didn't have time to hold a trial. And Moroni had to get out and fight against the Lamanites, so they just tossed them in prison. Now they come in, they bring all the men, thousands join them. I'm guessing between 15 and 20,000 men march on the city of Zarahemla. And Pachus and his men, they fight, and many of them are killed, the rest are taken captive. And once again we see the mercy of Moroni and Pahoran, because all those who are taken captive, they are tried. That's one thing I've got to point out, is that they aren't held for trial for later. No. So we did that before, and we just had the whole mess all over again. So we're going to try them. And all those who were in prison, if they're still there and they weren't freed by the other kingmen, are brought out, and we try all of them. And we strictly enforce it. If you took up arms against your brethren, you're executed. Those who didn't take up arms and are willing to take up arms against the Lamanites, well, okay. But if you're not willing to fight for your freedom and the freedom of your nation, freedom of your people, you're executed. No hesitation, no waiting, no appeals. You're tried according to the law, and if you are found guilty, you are executed on the spot. And they take most of this year, the 30th years, they've got to take the time to deal with this and not just put them in prison like they did before and wait. It's got to be dealt with now. And so they deal with it, and once it is dealt with, once all those who are actually guilty of insurrection are killed, peace is restored in the heart of the Nephite lands, and now we can gather our armies and go fight the Lamanites. We're going to leave that here. We will read the next section of this chapter in the next video, so I will see you there.